Good day. Welcome again to another conversation here on Jewish Sacred Aging, again with our guest, Rabbi Rex Perlmeter, the founder and director of the Jewish Wellness Center of Northern New Jersey. In our previous conversation, Rex, we were talking about some of the things that the Wellness Center does, and you mentioned that part of what you do on a weekend or a Shabbaton or a class deals with issues of meditation and mindfulness. This is really fascinating because so many people are now becoming involved with this issue. What exactly do you do? What exactly is mindfulness? Let's start with the basic understanding. Mindfulness, meditation, how does it fit into what we do in the Jewish community and what you do in the Wellness Center?
Well, to begin with, mindfulness is the practice, is engaging in practices which are designed to train one's capacity to remain aware or to try to attain awareness of that which is in this moment and to be open to it without judgment. Additionally, in the practice, what we come to understand is that the way of the mind and the soul, if you will, is to get off track and to learn gently and compassionately to invite ourselves back to our original intention. It might be the intention of focusing on the next breath. Or, in this season of the Jewish year, it might be the intention of living a better life. So you start with the practice on something as simple, which isn't simple at all, as the breath, because learning to do that can help train us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to be able to address those same kinds of qualities to how we live our lives.
Is this like,
that's how it relates to
so is it like training oneself to live in the moment? Or is that a total misrepresentation? Or to be in the moment?
To be in the moment is a totally accurate representation. But in the Jewish spin on it, yes, I would suggest we attempt to attain awareness of and full being in this moment so that we might be prepared skillfully and wholesomely to choose what we're going to do in the next moment.
So how does that relate to what you do? I mean, one has the image of you sitting with a group of people and everybody very quietly breathing, chanting some sort of Hebrew mantra. Is that part of it?
That's some of what we do.
Okay, and what and that leads to what? I mean, it heightens awareness, and then after you get done with that, what does that open up spiritually?
I think what it opens up for most of us, I'm speaking of myself now as a practitioner, is the ability to sense the wonder of what is in this moment, even again in something as not really simple as a breath. How amazing it is that the universe breathes this body and this body breathes of this universe, and to feel my connection to it and everything else that is with me in this moment. That's a really powerful spiritual apprehension. I think that's what flows from the practice. Further fruits flow from it as well. Recognizing that what is simply what must be.
And how does this relate to prayer? Because you said in the previous conversation that sometimes you incorporate this within the context of a worship service. So could you give me a little bit, I mean, how do you, I know there are certain prayers within the liturgy that really leap out, the Eloha Neshama, what I call the veins and arteries prayer, and, yes, and some of the others, or even the V'ahavta. But how do you incorporate this mindfulness within the context of a worship service?
So typically what will happen is around any of those prayers, before the prayer, the teacher, in this case sometimes I, will offer an iyun, a meditative thought interpreting usually just a few words of the prayer, and invite people just to sit with that thought, with the feelings that it calls up. So for example, I'm doing a teaching right now in preparation for the High Holy Days on the Al-Chet, the penitential prayer. And I offer the suggestion that rather than self-berating and beating up on ourselves, literally, physically, that this can be a time where we bring that same compassion of gently inviting ourselves back on track to the way we offer the Al-Chet, so that it becomes a nurturing of my faith in my own better self. and offer that, invite people to sit with that feeling for a little bit, and then pray the Al Chait. It's my belief that the experience of praying the words of the liturgy can be changed and amplified by taking the time in that way to be with it and to sit with a meaning.
And so when you go out as part of your work in the Jewish Wellness Center, you try to incorporate this into your teachings, correct?
Yes, correct.
You are also a spiritual director, if
Yes.
I'm not mistaken. And do you incorporate this practice in your spiritual direction practice?
Well, one of the phrases which I believe your previous guest, Rabbi Levi Elwell, may have used on the show that describes spiritual direction is helping people hear into speech the spiritual stirrings of their own lives and stories. To that extent, to be heard into speech, there has to be a space in which the hearing can take place. So much of time in spiritual direction can be spent sitting in companionable silence so that the directee, the person being companioned, has the chance in this safe and loving and prayerful environment to really listen in. What is my soul saying to me right now?
In the work, and a lot of the Jewish sacred aging work that I do, and traveling around and doing workshops and stuff with baby boomers, and we're finding that in this generation, there is a type of hunger. I use that word advisedly. I wouldn't have used it many years ago. For something, for an answer, for some direction, what the rest of this life is going to be. Are you finding this amongst the baby boomer group that you deal with when you go out and when your classes and your teaching?
With all respect to the other generations, I find that the baby boomers are the most receptive to the work we are bringing. I think you're absolutely right. I think it is a spiritual hunger. You, in the title of your book, captured what I believe is the essence of that hunger, which is
Thanks for plugging the book.
Yeah, my pleasure. They are seekers of meaning. They have grown up in a world in which, from an early point in their lives, they lost a great deal of their faith in authority and institutional structures which failed them, particularly at the time of Vietnam and Watergate. They have grown up, for the most part, with comfort and with a sense of security, which I would suggest, and we've talked about this before, the last 13 years have completely shattered. Right. In addition, in that same 13 years, the bulk of the baby boom generation have started to lose parents, in some case spouses, friends, in horrible cases as our own children even. Everything is on the table for questioning. And we're also getting to that point in life where we have the leisure to actually think about those questions.
Correct. The longevity gift is the gift of time, and the challenge is how to use that time.
Yes.
In your work, I just want to make sure, because it's a wellness institute, the whole concept of how you approach this intersection of mind, body, and soul, which is very Jewish. Most of our congregants don't know that, but the beauty of the tradition is that Judaism is a holistic medical model.
Absolutely.
How do you begin to approach that in the work that you do?
Well, for example, you cited two of the prayers which, when I go to a congregation and do that Shabbat morning service, are primary building planks for erecting the model which I'm attempting to teach. To have a prayer in our service which gives thanks for the vessels which should be open being open, and the holes which should be closed being closed.
Thanks God.
Pretty graphic. But that's because our tradition lives in the real and recognizes the physical as sacred. That's the beginning of holy. We are an embodied soul. So starting with that and doing some embodied practice around really noticing what's going on in the body, the morning blessings. I thank you, God, who've given the mind instinct and who help the body to stand erect, etc. Literally acting those things out and feeling and noticing, I'm thanking God for what I actually feel in this body, and then moving to Elohai Neshama, making the connection between Neshima and Neshama, between breath and soul, and just inviting people to be with that feeling of slowing life down, stopping to notice, and allowing the wonder, which for most of us, I think, opens itself up naturally when we give ourselves the time to allow it to.
Somebody wants to get a hold of the Jewish Wellness Center. Once again, how do we do that? How does somebody make themselves available to you? They want to bring you into that congregation or Jewish family service or agency.
So jewishwellness.net is our website, and my email is rabbirex@jewishwellness.net, RABBIREX.
Thank you, Rex, and thank all of you for, again, tuning in to one of our conversations here on Jewish Sacred Aging. We want to thank Rabbi Rex Perlmeter from the Jewish Wellness Center of North Jersey, the founder and director of this institution, and we wish you a very sweet and healthy year. Thank you very much from Jewish Sacred Aging. This is Richard Address.